What's up, my wizards? It's Dev from SBMTG down there on the YouTube.com, and I got more Kaladesh spoilers for you, as usual, lately. Tuesday morning spoilers came out, and some of them look pretty good, so let's go ahead and take a look. Alright, first thing I want to talk about is the Planeswalker packs. We saw the two Planeswalkers that are coming in the Planeswalker packs, which will replace intro packs, by the way, in case you hadn't heard that yet. No more intro packs, instead Planeswalker packs. So, you can either buy Chandra, or you can buy Nyssa. And Wizards has stressed that the Planeswalkers that come in these packs are going to be a step down in power level from the, really competitive standard playable walkers. But that being said, let's take a look. Let's compare the two of them. First, there's Shandra, and then there's Nyssa. We've got Shandra, Pyro Genius, and Nyssa, Nature's Artisan. Shandra costs 6. That's 4 and 2 red for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker with +2. Shandra Pyro Genius deals 2 damage to each opponent. -3, Chandra Pyro Genius deals 4 damage to target creature. And -10, Chandra Pyro Genius deals 6 damage to target player and each creature he or she controls. Nyssa costs 6 as well. That's 4 and 2 green for also a 5 loyalty Planeswalker. Her +3 is gain 3 life. Her -4 is reveal the top 2 cards of your library, put all land cards from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest into your hand. And her -12 is creatures you control get +5/+5 and gain trample until end of turn. Well, if we're comparing the two sort of in a vacuum, I think that the Shandra is better. We've already seen a really good Chandra just last night, and this one is worse, definitely, but still not god-awful. I mean, it's not incredibly playable or anything, don't get me wrong, but it looks okay. But, definitely both of these are maybe a step down, as Wizards said, in power level. But there are some good things about them. Nissa's +3 is an interesting way of protecting herself. She doesn't make a creature, but she does go up to 8 loyalty. That's not bad at all. She does have card advantage if you neg for her. That's not bad at all, although you may whiff on that. That's entirely possible. And her ultimate seems okay, but tough to get to. Both of them take the same amount of time to get to their ultimate. Both of them cost the same CMC, and both of them have the same starting loyalty. Aside from that, there are some fun similarities, or at least ways that they'll play against each other to point out, because, people will play these decks against one another a lot. For instance, Chandra can deal 2 damage to each opponent, but Nyssa can gain that life right back. Their two negative abilities are, they're not necessarily congruous. You can't compare them to one another, but they both do what that Planeswalker does. Nyssa is all about lands, Chandra's all about burn, and Chandra can wipe the board. Nyssa can make your board way bigger. So I like the way that these will play sort of against one another. And I also like the way that they've been sort of balanced. So, like them, if I had to pick one to play in Standard, it would probably be Chandra. Although I don't think either of these will see too much Standard play. These are as close to, like, uncommon walkers as you can get. Madcap Experiment is 4 mana. That's 3 generic and a red for a sorcery. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an artifact card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest onto the bottom of your library in a random order. Madcap Experiment deals damage to you equal to the number of cards revealed this way. Alright, so it looks kind of bad at first glance, and probably is the worst card spoiled today, although it does have some applications, with something that lets you scry, or maybe a Sensei's Divining Top-like effect, This could be pretty good as long as it puts something that costs 4 or more onto the battlefield. And it can only hit artifacts, so our choices are very much limited. You want to get value off of it, so you want the thing to cost at least as much as you played for Madcap Experiment. And it can deal a bunch of damage too if you're not careful, so I'm just not sure. It feels like a polymorph for artifacts, but like worse in a way, and nobody plays polymorph, so like that's saying a lot. But, this could surprise us. There could be something with this. I'm just not sure I see it. This is Lathnu Hellion. He's a 3 mana, that's 2 generic and a red. 4/4 Hellion with haste. And when he enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy counters. And at the beginning of your end step, you sacrifice it unless you pay 2 energy counters. Now this I like an awful lot, and it's actually pretty versatile. Not only is it a 3 mana 4/4 haste, that's really good, but if you elect to, spend the energy on it, you can keep it around for at least 1 more turn and swing with it again on turn 4, Doesn't seem bad. I mean, the dream here is to play, Voltaic Brawler on turn 2, and then play this on turn 3, swing 8, That seems awesome. And then you can have energy left over, you can kill your Hellion at the end step and have energy left over to either activate your Voltaic Brawler more times when it swings, or maybe play Harness Lightning and deal a bunch of damage all at one time to a creature. So I'm really liking the way that this green-red energy aggro deck is shaping up. When we first saw energy as a mechanic, I did not think it would end up being in an aggro deck, but it's looking really, really good right now. And, even outside of that green-red aggro deck, this could see play. It's incredible stats, and it does take, it takes a lot of energy to stick around, but it gives itself at least enough energy to attack twice, and that could be all you need. Let's look at 3 artifacts at the same time. This is Animation Module, Decoction Module, and Fabrication Module. Animation Module just costs 1. It's an artifact. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are placed on a permanent you control, you may pay 1 generic mana. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. You can also pay 3 and tap it to choose a counter on target permanent or player. Give that permanent or player another counter of that kind. Now, Decoction Module costs 2 mana. It's also an artifact, obviously. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get an energy counter. You can pay 4 and tap it to return a creature you control to its owner's hand. And Fabrication Module, I keep doing that, costs 3. It's also obviously an artifact. And whenever you get 1 or more energy counters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. And you can pay 4 and tap it to get an energy counter. Alright, this is really cute. 3 artifacts that work with one another. One costs 1, the other costs 2, and the other costs 3. Good on curve, right? And, I don't think this is like Tron. I don't think we're gonna make like a deck that's supposed to get all 3 of them by turn 3 and then go off. That seems a little slow, but they do work hilariously together. In case you didn't catch it, what you do is, let's say we play a creature. We have all 3 of these out. We play a creature. Well, creature entered the battlefield, so that triggers Decoction Module. We get an energy counter. Getting the energy counter triggers Fabrication Module. We get to put a +1/+1 counter on, let's just say, the creature we just played. Now, that activates or triggers Animation Module. Since we put a +1/+1 counter on the guy, we can pay 1, and if we do, we'll get a 1/1 colorless artifact creature token. Now, if we do get the creature token, that means that a creature came into play under our control, so we get an energy counter off Decoction Module. Since we got an energy counter, then we can put another +1/+1 counter on a creature we control. That again triggers Animation Module, and we can pay 1 to put another creature out and just keep this going. And obviously, it doesn't go infinite because you have to pay 1 for Animation Module every time you want to keep it going. But if you do have the combo out and you just play one guy on like turn 4 or 5, then you'll be able to get a couple of more servos and just keep this thing going. And you're getting energy the entire time, by the way. And all 3 of these artifacts do other stuff. We can put another counter, either energy or +1/+1 or whatever, actually. Poison counter, for that matter, with Animation Module. With Decoction Module, we can return things to our own hand. And then, things that we control to their owner's hands. And then we can just get energy with Fabrication Module. So they all do stuff that's independent of their first abilities, and the stuff that the second abilities on them feed into their first abilities too. So these are 3 just really synergistic cards that obviously work together, and I really have to applaud the design on this. I'm not sure how good these are. Animation Module looks better than the others, and they did make it rare. I think they did that for a reason, because it looks really good, especially in these counter-centric commander decks. We've seen a couple of those cards, actually. So I really like the design on these. It was probably really hard to make 3 artifacts that work this well together without completely breaking them. So bravo on this, Wizards. I really like the design here. And we'll have to see how good they are in conjunction, but they look pretty sweet. This guy's awesome. This is Torrential Gear. He's 6 mana. That's 4 and 2 blue for a 5/6 artifact creature construct with flash. And when he enters the battlefield, you may cast target instant card from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that card would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. Well, don't make this guy mad. He might snap. Huh? In all seriousness, he's obviously not Snapcaster Mage. Snapcaster Mage costs way less, but it is worth noting that with Snapcaster Mage, you have to pay the cost of the spell you're flashing back. With this, you don't, so it helps make it up, And sometimes, often, the stuff that you're flashing back with Snap costs 1, 2, or 3. Although I have seen many times people flashing back like cryptic commands with a Snapcaster Mage. So that's 6 mana right there, And I like this too. It's also obviously reminiscent of Goblin Dark Dwellers, but this doesn't hit, sorceries. That kind of sucks. But it is sort of, I won't say better straight up than Dark Dwellers, but I do like that this can hit any instant in your graveyard, meaning that you can drop really expensive instants into the graveyard, and then, play them for free with this and get a huge body on top of the instant you're playing for free. That's awesome, you know, dig through time, anybody? I wish that was still in standard. But there is cool stuff we can do in standard with this right now, and I really wouldn't be surprised to see like a blue-red, you know, flashback sort of deck that plays this and Goblin Dark Dwellers. So I'm really excited about this card if you can't tell. It also, I need to point this out, it shows us that gearhulks can cost different things. The only two we've seen so far cost 5 mana. This costs 6. Just a, you know, a huge power. A big flash guy is really, really good in control decks, and this could be a control finisher because on turn 6 or higher, we can flash this in and, you know, flashback counter spells. We can flashback removal, which is probably what's going to happen a lot of the time. So this thing looks to be a pretty darn good card to me. It looks like a powerhouse, and we'll probably see it somewhere. Also note that Elder Deep-Fiend is seeing a lot of play. Another huge blue creature with flash, a lot like this one. So maybe we'll see like a creature-based blue flash deck that maybe plays another color so it can get in some removal. Blue-black flash, blue-white flash, something like that. But, you know, basically a flash control deck that plays huge guys like Deep-Fiend and this dude. So that seems pretty exciting too. Just bring this dude on. Like, he seems like he has a lot of good applications in the current standard and maybe even modern, but 6 mana is an awful lot to ask. Last card of the day so far is Nyssa, Vital Force. I love that name. 5 mana, that's 3 generic and 2 green for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. She's got +1. Untap target land you control until your next turn. It becomes a 5/5 elemental creature with haste. It's still a land. You can also -3 her to return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand, or you can -6 her. She starts at 5. You can -6 her to get an emblem with whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. Okay, so this looks pretty good. I mean, not as ridiculous as Shandra looked, but still very, very solid planeswalker that's definitely going to see standard play in some sort of mid-range shell. You know, she protects herself pretty well. You know, she untaps that land and makes a huge dude until your next turn. That's good. Either swing in with the 5/5 or leave it up to block, because it'll block pretty much anything, including big Sylvan Advocates on the other side of the table, and kill them and survive. That's really, really good. Also, I should mention that with her +1, you can untap the land and she effectively costs 4 mana. Now, obviously, you'll want to leave that land up to block a lot of the time or swing in, but you can also use that extra mana to, say, play a Traverse the Evenwald, or play her own Oath if you want to get super, like, flavorful with it. That seems good, too. But mostly, you'll be leaving it up to block or swing in for a huge chunk of damage. Her second ability is card advantage. You know, getting a permanent out of the graveyard is really actually great card advantage. And the fact that it says permanent, I wish it was return target card from your graveyard to your hand, but that might not have been balanced very well. We can only get permanents, but that still leaves a huge, you know, spread of things that we can get. And this could be really good in the Super Friends or Deploy the Gatewatch deck, because it allows you to get other planeswalkers that have died earlier in the game back into your hand. That's not bad at all. And the ultimate, gotta point that out, because after 1 turn, you can ultimate her. And if you have an Oath of Gideon in play, you can go ahead and ultimate her the turn she comes out. And then for the rest of the game, you draw a card every time you play a land, which is great, even if you don't do stupid stuff like Splendid Reclamation, which you could do. You know, next turn, just go ahead and ultimate her, play Splendid Reclamation, and draw all of the cards, as long as you have stuff in your graveyard, lands in your graveyard. So I think this card also has a lot of applications in this format, and will probably just go in some, you know, mid-range good stuff shell. Card looks really, really impressive. Like, this is a really versatile planeswalker that protects herself very well, has card advantage on her, and can ultimate very, very quickly. So that's all the boxes are checked off to make this a good planeswalker. I like her. That is all I've got for now, but it's still pretty early on in the day. It's like 2:30 as I'm recording this, so they'll probably spoil more cards a little bit later on tonight. And if they do, I'll be there for you. But check out all the other spoiler videos. We just put out the Chandra spoiler video last night. And if you want to see me really, really excited, you should check that out. So check all the spoiler stuff out, and sub if you're new, and then like the content if you like the content. Seriously, a thumbs up goes an awful long way on my end. It helps me out a lot. So do all that, and I will see you guys later with more spoilers and deck techs and top 10 lists and all the stuff. I'm Dev from SPMTG. Thanks for watching, my wizards.